Welcome to episode 2 of Lost and Loud, the podcast, where we are just lost in life and we are going to be loud about it. I got a new cup and I am very happy about it. It is so cute and purple. Are you kidding? Like, I used to be on that Stanley Tumblr grind, okay? Everybody was talking about it. I gave in. I got one last year. And let me tell you, it gets moldy. And oh my gosh, it completely turned me off from using it. So I was drinking bottled water, I was using cups at home, and is it a dumb purchase to buy these big cups that are bigger than your head? Maybe, but I love it because it's purple. And as you can tell, I love purple, hence these lights and stuff. But basically, like the Stanley Tumblr craze, okay? It's like an addiction, I swear. And let's be for real. It started on TikTok. I gave in. I also got one for my friend for like Christmas or something. Or was it her birthday? And I swear, I loved it in the beginning. And then I realized, it seems like this isn't actually one big thing. It seems like there are actually multiple parts of this. I took it apart and black mold everywhere. Okay, I was horrified. So completely turned off from using it. I'm probably going to sell it on Facebook Marketplace. But then I discovered the Simply Modern ones. And don't worry guys, this is only episode 2. This is not sponsored. But it's literally just a lid. So it's so much easier to clean. So this is my drink. Not sponsored, but if they want to, they can. Guys, click my Amazon storefront that doesn't exist, okay? Real quick, before we get into today's topic, you guys probably can tell by the title of the video, I saw the new Mean Girls, the musical movie last night, and I was so surprised by how much I loved it. Oh my gosh, like I think I'm a little biased because I'm a sucker for musicals, but it was just so good. I think it was unfairly roasted online. I saw so many people on YouTube and TikTok calling it trash, saying it was just a big elf brand deal. There were 2 elf shots. 2. And spoiler warning, I'm gonna give a spoiler now what those scenes were. The first one was just someone in class asking Katie what her lip gloss was or something. And then she was like, elf, blah, blah, blah. And then the second one was just Regina dropping her piece of makeup in the sink. Like, whatever. And if that is not the most Gen Z thing ever, I think it was completely on brand for the movie. Gen Z, Gen Alpha, Millennial generation, we are all about social media and influencing and just promoting everything. And frankly, I think we're the most capitalistic generation because everything that gets posted on social media nowadays, I swear, is always a brand deal or sponsored in some way, or buy this shirt, it is linked on my Amazon storefront. Like, it's almost as if nothing people post anymore is not associated with a brand or partnership. So for this to be the Gen Z, Gen Alpha Mean Girls, it was pretty on brand if you ask me. Renee Rapp, oh, I love her. Okay, she did fabulous as Regina. She did the original justice, but she also completely made it her own with how she delivered the lines. But I loved it. I'm a sucker for musicals, honestly, but I really think they did great. And I found myself giggling like a little 8-year-old girl in the theater, singing along to the songs, and I highly recommend it. Especially, I feel like us girls, we're getting some good movies lately. Like Barbie came out. I feel like so many of us have wanted to grow up so fast when we were younger that we completely just wanted to get rid of girlhood. We wanted to be women so bad and grow up so quick that now it's like these things from our girlhood, like Barbie, like Mean Girls, are coming back, and we are just grasping onto it so tight because we're so desperate to relive our girlhood. I know for me, I totally relate to that. But with talking about Mean Girls and like our girlhood, you know, and wanting to grow up too fast, that brings me kind of into today's topic that I do really want to talk about and give my opinion on and see what other people think. But let's talk about Sephora kids. Like, what is going on with that? Any of you are watching that aren't familiar, basically there was this viral video that was posted by someone on TikTok, and it was kind of just them filming a modern day Sephora, right? And the entire store was crowded with like 8 to 12-year-olds. Basically what would have been a preteen age. But the thing is, these kids are loud, they're running around, they're messing up the testers, they're making things messy, they're bumping into people, they're destroying products. But another way to say that is they're kids just being kids. And anytime there's a room or a place full of children that are under the age of 12, there is chaos. But the question is why is this happening to Sephora? Isn't Sephora supposed to be like an 18 plus adult store, high-end brand, makeup, skincare, and like perfume company? Or store? Or retailer? You would think the answer to that is yes. But actually, that's turning into a no. It's becoming a place of all ages. Why? We're gonna talk about and see if we can figure it out. And I have a couple things on my mind that I think might explain it, so bear with me. So the first thing obviously is, what are the Sephora kids? We talked about that. But now we have to ask ourselves, why Sephora? And I just wrote a couple things on my phone to keep this more structured, but basically, I think that there is a lack of preteen years. Everyone's familiar with your tween years or preteen years, where you're either just starting puberty or you're about to start puberty. And that time is usually when you have your awkward years. And I think during those years is a very crucial part of your development, where you start to experiment with your looks, where you start to come into your personality, where you start to discover the kind of people you want to be around, where you start to discover truly your hobbies. But as we're seeing with Sephora kids, that part of development is being skipped. We're going from children to now adults. It's like you're a child when your parents are the ones that are taking you to the mall and going in the mall with your parents because it's not safe for you to be alone. But when you're a tween, it's like your parents pick you and your friends up, they drop you off at the mall, and they're like, okay, call me when you need a ride home, or hey, we'll pick you up in 4 hours, have fun, girls. And then you kind of just have your crossbody bag with your friends, you guys go pick up Starbucks or you get bubble tea or something. But where things change is, whereas before maybe you went into a store like Claire's, maybe you went to Ardennes, maybe you go to Old Navy or The Gap or Urban Planet. Now that's switching to kids going to places like Sephora and Lululemon. Places where usually the demographic targeted to shop there, 18 plus. And many people are saying Sephora is the new Claire's, Lululemon is the new Urban Planet, is the new H&M, where instead of having these experimental years where you experiment with your clothes, where you experiment with cheap, glittery, sparkly lip gloss and awkward, terrible eyeshadow, and you get mascara all over the place and you deal with your block brows, now we have little kids trying to look and act like adults, which honestly is so sad to me, because I remember as a child desperately wanting to grow up, counting down the days till I turned 18. And then now I'm 24 and all I want to do is go back to my childhood so that I can actually cherish it, appreciating being a kid. Because we have our whole lives ahead of us to be adults, to have responsibilities, to pay taxes, to deal with relationships, friend breakups, boyfriend or girlfriend breakups, getting a job, mental health, bills. Like, we have our whole life to deal with those terrible things. And I do not wish that on any child. Now, why do we think kids are skipping their preteen years? Why are kids not going through awkward phases anymore? The answer is social media. Listen, I love social media. I think it's done amazing for the world, for people to be able to communicate with one another, for people to be able to spread messages of love to one another. But it's also a place where there's a lot of hate, and it might not be the best place for children. But hey, that's a whole other topic. We're talking strictly Sephora kids and why we think that's happening. This kind of feels like a video essay. It's like A, B, C, D. So kids are starting to skip their preteens. Kids are starting to not go through an awkward phase. It's like we go from childhood to adulthood, even though that is completely not the case, because you're whether you try to act like an adult or look like an adult, it doesn't change the fact that you're like 12. There's nothing wrong with experimenting, but it's like that experimental phase is over and there's no more kids trying drugstore makeup, kids going to Dollar Tree or Dollarama and buying cheap makeup to smother their faces with at a sleepover. But instead, it's turning into high brand luxury items. Lululemon. I don't even shop at Lululemon because it's way too expensive. And to have kids who are like 10 crying because their parents got them leggings from like Aritzia and not Lululemon. It's so sad to see. And the biggest thing that I contribute to the whole Sephora kids is definitely the social media influencer culture. As I've said before, capitalism is so efficiently shown on places, especially like TikTok. It is as if almost every single post you see on social media is a brand deal or is branded by something, or the person is a hashtag partner. There's almost no way of knowing if someone's product review or makeup review or just video in general is a paid promotion. Now, YouTube used to have this problem, okay? And they got struck by the government or they got in big trouble. I don't know if they had a lawsuit or something, but basically a rule was laid down into YouTube saying that if you are paid to say anything, if you are gifted a product for free, you have to disclose it verbally and written and do a hashtag ad. You can't just do hashtag ad. That is not enough. You have to say this video is sponsored by blank, and you also have to click the button in your YouTube upload saying paid promotion. And the thing is this has not happened yet on TikTok. I think it happened on Instagram as well. I think Instagram was slapped with it because there was the same problem. But TikTok, as we know, is the number one app that people are using for entertainment, especially kids. Even though these social media apps are technically 13 plus, we all know that like parents are giving their kids iPads at 5, and these 5-year-olds are going on TikTok. They're going on YouTube. They're watching these get ready with me's where grown women are using $200 facial moisturizer, which all power to them. But it's just the fact that kids think that's what they need to do. And the issue is people aren't disclosing paid promotions. All they're saying in the bottom of the screen is hashtag partner. The number one thing I see is people using Bloom, okay? That like probably useless fake vegetable tea herb something, okay? Allegedly. And mixing it in their water as they're saying, get ready with me, whatever. And instead of saying that I was gifted this product for free like you would have to say on Instagram or YouTube, all they put in the bottom is hashtag Bloom partner. Are you kidding? And that is so not the law. And I think we are going to see a huge rise in people getting in trouble because of that, especially for ones that are a lot of money. Because what's happening is kids, for example, are seeing that content is not sponsored. They don't hear this video sponsored by, I got this product sent to me for free. Now, of course, there's a lot of people that do disclose that, but I see way more that don't. Especially as a content creator, I can clock it very easily. So kids are seeing Get Ready With Me, where people are being gifted Fenty Beauty, or being gifted Rare Beauty or Rem Beauty, especially celebrity makeup brands. And they're using it in their videos, and they're saying it's amazing. They're saying it's the best product they've ever used. So nobody's showing Claire's makeup. Nobody's showing drugstore makeup. The only time you ever see people truly promoting drugstore makeup is in comparison to a high-end luxury brand. Like saying, oh, the NYX concealer is great as a dupe for NARS. It's never just independent of itself and its own thing. All you see on social media is products, Amazon storefront links and everything. And so as a child, as a 10-year-old on TikTok, you're going to see all that and you're going to want to use the products you see your favorite influencers using, right? Like, it's only natural. It's like when your favorite artist sells merch, you just want to support, you want to be a part of the club, and you start to get FOMO, the feeling of missing out. And that starts another problem because then there's this hierarchy because some kids can't afford that. And then that causes a hierarchy, probably in school, where it's like, I have the Charlotte Tilbury foundation and you only have Maybelline. I can totally see that happening. The main issue with this whole Sephora thing going around with kids is not even about the makeup. It is about especially skincare. Like children, I'm talking about the generalities of the population. Most children, okay, before puberty or just as they're about to enter puberty, 8, 9 years old, usually kids have pretty good skin. Like a 9-year-old kid does not need to have a 20-step Sephora luxury skincare routine that has like retinol and all these abrasive, invasive ingredients, okay? As a child, you just can't completely understand what you're actually putting on your face and your skin. And like, you don't need it most of the time. It's obviously different if someone's struggling with like acne at a young age, of course. Like, we're not talking about that. And what's crazy is that parents don't even know what their kids are buying. They're giving their kids Sephora gift cards, just kind of like, go play, sweetie. So the kids destroy the store. They're buying all these products with not horrible ingredients, but just ingredients that are a little too strong for a child's face. You know what I mean? They might be feeling peer pressure to get luxury things rather than drugstore, because if it's truly about experimenting with makeup, all you need is dollar store stuff. You don't need to experiment with Laura Mercier face powder. Like, CoverGirl's fine, you know? It's less about the girlhood and just trying to figure out your makeup with your friends. It's about trying to grow up too fast and being promoted constantly down your throat, all these products 24/7. And as much as influencer culture can definitely contribute to the problem going around with like Sephora kids, ultimately, the main issue comes with parenting. Why are parents giving their like 5-year-olds iPads with access to the internet? It's one thing to give your kid a phone or an iPad to play games, to make phone calls for safety and maybe text friends. But a child that's like 7 or 6 having access to the entirety of the internet, Google, horrifying, Reddit, Twitter. Do you know the type of stuff on those websites? YouTube, TikTok? Oh my gosh. Now, there are moderators for those things. They're human most of the time. The computer can only sense so much, and there are not enough people working at those companies that can fully get all the bad stuff off of these websites. And if you're someone that is sensitive to listening, someone that doesn't have kids talk about parenting, I'm sorry, but everyone's allowed to have an opinion, whether you have kids or not, about kids. Because we were all kids once. The responsibility of this is not on TikTok. It is not on YouTube. It is not even on the influencers. It is on the parents. You should be aware of what your kid is watching if they're 9 years old. I'm sorry, but it's true. Do the best you can, at least. Put internet blocks. I knew what it was like to grow up in the first generation that had access to Instagram. I remember the first day Instagram was released. And I made an account when I was in like 7th grade. It was never a business then. It was never capitalism. It was truly a social app, like having a photo album that you show your friends physically but online. But I also know what it's like to grow up with unlimited internet access. And boy, looking back, do I wish that I did not have that. I wish that somebody took that away from me, because the stuff I've seen, good gosh. Child should never see. Parents should be trying to somewhat monitor their child's access to the internet and social media and stuff. And I'm not talking about 16-year-olds. I'm talking about the 8-year-olds. Technically, social media, you have to be at least 13 to sign up. All of them. But we all know that's not the case. All the Sephora kids are not 13-year-olds. They're like 10. How do they know about these products? How do they know about these stores? Is the internet, is social media especially. So the responsibility is on the parents who gave them the device. You can't control everything. Like, kids have friends, you know, stuff they hear about in school. But like, for a 9-year-old to think they need a 20-step makeup routine and a 20-step skincare routine to like fit in with the trends is just so crazy to me. And it's the fact that so many parents I've heard with these crazy Sephora stories, okay, are you ready? Half of them don't even know what their kids are buying. They don't know they're buying products with like retinol and stuff. They're just buying it for them and being like, okay, sweetie, have fun. Like, it's like, What is going on? And especially with the kids' behavior in the Sephora stores. With Sephora kids, there are obviously good ones, but then you have the ones that destroy the store because there's no places like Claire's. Claire's is like ghost town. I went to the mall today. Sephora packed, Claire's empty. I don't know how Claire's hasn't shut down. I'm sure they still have a lot of people going there, but it is not like how it used to be. You used to be able to run around Claire's no problem. That's what it was for. But Sephora is not. It's a place usually for adults to go and just get what they need for their routines. They come after work when they're finally free, and it's surrounded by children who just have nowhere to go. It's like childhood is leaving society. It's like girlhood, boyhood is gone. It's like, guys, time to be an adult, time to buy stuff, time to enter capitalism, time to get a job. Like, let kids be kids. Like, what happened to kids being kids? It's so sad to see. And that's why so many women just loved Barbie, because we spent so much of our youth, our girlhood, our childhood on trying to be grown. And that was with places like Claire's. I cannot imagine the pressure kids are feeling today with the amount of like paid promotions on TikTok and constant products thrown in your face and Amazon storefront links. How hard it is to grow up in today's society. We thought beauty standards back then were bad. Can you imagine today with every person posting something with a filter on their face, and then a kid goes to open their camera and they look at themselves? There's no beauty filter on your iPhone. I thought it was bad when I was a kid. I would be terrified to be like a 12-year-old today, honestly. The amount of unrealistic beauty standards that they are put into. With filters, everybody using the beauty filter and stuff, and plastic surgery being so common, I feel that pressure as an adult. I cannot imagine being a preteen or an 11-year-old. But the thing is you can't really stop society from changing. This is what society has turned into. We are a very fast-paced, technologically advanced society, okay? That's just a fact. That's just the way it is. You can't change that anymore. We've made these amazing advances in technology with the cell phone, computer, going to space, all these different things, even being able to explore the ocean. So that's something you can't change, but what you can change is the parenting. And that's why I left it to the end, because I do believe that ultimately with everything that I've mentioned, it comes down to the parenting. The lack of discipline that comes with parenting today, I have seen so many times. People just not wanting to like discipline their kid or have a conversation about what they're doing is wrong. And instead they're just like, oh, take the iPad. Like, everybody even throws around the term iPad kids like it's a joke. And don't get me wrong, it's funny, but it's actually kind of scary how we all know that people just give their kid the iPad and don't tell them anything. It's like if the kid's screaming, they don't say stop screaming. They're just like, honey, take it. And I completely get it if you're having like a hard time and it's been rough. There's no one saying don't give them the iPad sometimes. It's just like if your kid's causing a ruckus in Sephora, don't just be like, come on, sweetie. Like, you have to have a conversation with your kid. You have to discipline them, obviously, in a good way. It's almost like social media is like raising children. It's like every content creator is a parent almost. And guys, like, if you don't agree with my opinion, that's completely fine. That's just something that I wanted to talk about. I'd love to hear your opinion. We're here to have intellectual conversations, okay? Like, we're all adults here. I'd love to hear your opinion on why you think the Sephora kids are a thing, or like what's happening in society that's causing kids to not be kids anymore. Like, why do you think that kids aren't going to places like Claire's anymore? Why are 11-year-olds going to Lululemon, Aritzia, and Sephora? So I'd love to hear your thoughts if you don't agree with me, and let's just have a smart intellectual conversation. And that's why we're here. Like, we need to bring back the ability to talk and not fight one another, because a conversation can never be productive if people start to get angry or throw insults or get defensive. It's like, let's just have an open, honest conversation. And it's just something I wanted to talk about. And I just think so many of us are just desperately wanting to go back to being a kid and like reliving our childhood and girlhood with Barbie and Mean Girls, just stuff like that, because we were forced to grow up so quick. And I think kids nowadays are having to do it even quicker than my generation did. I'm a zillennial. I'm in the cusp between Gen Z and millennial. Like, I don't relate to the 17-year-old Gen Zs, but I also don't relate to the 35-year-old millennials. I'm the generation where I grew up without a cell phone, without iPads. Those didn't exist. I grew up with big video cameras. I didn't even have child videos of me growing up, only pictures. But when I was like 12, Instagram came out. So it's like I got to grow up with not having a cell phone and playing at the park till it got dark and going home, but then also being the first generation that got introduced into social media where it was like public. Because things like Facebook, it's like a friend request, but Instagram had the option of being open and public, and like, oh my gosh, it's crazy to think. It's crazy to see how different social media platforms are. I was going to talk about something different this week, but then after watching Mean Girls yesterday, it just really made me think about like my childhood and how it just felt so good to sit in the movie theater and watch a movie that I watched when I was a kid. And how even just in Mean Girls, like you just see the characters, like they're supposed to be what, like 16? And they act like adults. It's like, damn, tough being a girl sometimes, you know? I also love being a girl. So, yeah. I don't know if you even made it this far, but I totally forgot to do our little break. This podcast is brought to you by my Patreon. If you guys have been enjoying the podcast, it would really mean a lot if you subscribe, if you like, if you share, and also if you can, if you want to support the podcast to keep it going, for me to be able to get new equipment in the future, go join my Patreon. You can get early access to these episodes every week. So when you guys are seeing this, episode 3 is already on Patreon. You also get extra just regular YouTube videos. I also do live streams there. So it would really mean a lot if you guys choose to support on Patreon. And if you can't afford to do that, just subscribing here is plenty enough. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. So I'll just see you guys next week for episode 3 of Lost and Loud.